What's up, guys? Kelly McKay here, aka HVAC Millionaire, right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, hit this notification bell, hit the like button, leave me a comment below. Today, we're going to continue this conversation about scaling our HVAC business. On the last video, we talked about the CSR or dispatcher role and how important those calls, each individual call that comes in, how much that call is worth to your business. And I hope that was an eye-opener for you. I hope you've done a better job at trying your best to book every single call that comes in, let alone answering the phone every time it rings, because those calls are worth a lot of money to your business. So once you clean that up, then we need to look at the service department, or at least that's what we're looking at today. Now, the service department, first thing we need to know and consider is, are we making money? Are we priced properly in service? And one of the things that trips people up is just how high the overhead, when you departmentalize, when you look at the overhead for your service department, just how high it is. And I'm going to tell you why it's so high right now. It's because if you allocated the money that you paid to your dispatcher and your CSR, if you were to split that up into the different departments of your business, whether it's maintenance, demand service, no heat, no cool calls, installation, and then you might have like residential new construction, and then maybe commercial. And that could be installation and maintenance as well. So however your company is structured, what all types of work you do, the service department, you got to consider is the majority of phone calls that come into your office are service calls. Not that you don't get some calls that are coming in for an estimate for a new installation or something to that nature, or questions, or to call, well, that's the thing. So when you're smaller, any maintenance call that comes in, like if it's somebody who's just wanting a tune-up, I would go ahead and throw that in the service bucket and just put them all in a big bucket. Your maintenance and service, preventative maintenance, maintenance contracts, you could just put all that together. But eventually you will want to separate it. But think of all the administrative work that goes behind delivering a service call. It's a lot. The majority of your gas bill, as far as the vehicle, the gasoline bill that your vehicles are driving around town in, is going to go towards the service department. They do way more driving than an installer does. Your internet, your dispatch software, the majority of calls, not that you don't have, hopefully have several installs as well, but the majority of those calls are service calls. So whatever you pay monthly for that software has to be allocated towards the service department. So that's why the service department overhead is so high. So figuring that up, you can do a breakdown on your invoices. But the first thing we want to look at is just, what is our average ticket? And then take a bunch of those invoices and break them down. Take what the ticket sold for, minus what the tech made, minus your parts. That's going to leave you your gross profit. Then you'll take that gross profit and divide it by what the ticket total was. That's going to give you your gross profit margin. And once you have that number, then you can minus the overhead out of that number, and it'll give you an idea of how much profit you actually made on the call. It's not gross profit. Everybody thinks that if I paid $50, let's say I had a $20 part and a $30 tech, and it took him an hour, and I paid $50 to make that call happen, and I collected $100, that I just made $50. You didn't make $50. No, because you didn't factor in all the overhead it took to deliver that call. So a good portion of your marketing, if it's directed towards service calls, is going to go towards the service department as well. So you can see how that stacks up and creates a lot of overhead to that department. So now that you know this, break down the tickets. Go back through your last 20 tickets and break them down. Find out where you're actually at. Are you making money or not? What's the percentage over that 50% that you actually get to keep? It's a lot smaller than you think. And so a lot of people go years just losing money in the service department. And thankfully they sell something every once in a while, or they would have been out of business a long time ago, because the installs can help make up the difference for your lack of awareness in charging enough in the service department. So once you do this, then you're going to look at the average ticket. What is the average ticket? Go back and add them all up, find out if you have the software or the capability, and even if you don't, you should be looking at, even if you manually have to do it, go back and look at what is the average ticket for each technician? And then what you're paying that technician, you want to make sure, I've heard anywhere from 19 to 22% is what you should be paying them of what they brought in. And I'm talking like hourly. So if you did some type of a commission-based structure, it would still need to fall roughly in this same category. To make it easy and just to do easy math, if you paid a technician $1,000, then they should have brought in $4,000 for that week that they worked and what they billed the company for their hours worked. That would be 25% of what they brought in. As long as they're maintaining that, and everybody has good months and bad months. So if you are only measuring for a couple of weeks, don't get your panties in a wad and freak out over that because they're not doing very well. Now it could be an invitation for you to have a coaching conversation with them, to coach them up and to make sure that they're doing what they need to do to produce income for the business, for you. But if they're not, you got to give it time. But over any 2 to 3 month span, if that's not within 25%, then we either have to coach them up, train them up to get to that level quickly, because we can't just keep losing money on that one person out there every day. Or we have to cut their pay down to a more reasonable pay that matches more in that 25% range as far as what they're producing for the business. So these are some big steps that people don't like to take because it takes time, it takes energy, effort, and hopefully going into the winter season, if you get a little bit of time, you can start doing this. But I highly recommend having the right software in your business to help manage this stuff for you, because if it manages it for you, then it's just easy to go in and get those numbers. So once you can get to a point where you can do that, and as far as breaking down every invoice, most softwares will do that for you if it's set up properly. But if you don't have it all the things set up that's necessary for that to happen, then as long as you spot check, go in and check a couple of invoices here and there every week from every technician, and just to make sure that you are where you need to be to actually make a profit, then you'll be fine. But it all is going to be based on what you're charging as an hourly rate. So you got to make sure that hourly rate is high enough to cover all your parts, the technician's expense, and your overhead, and still make a profit in the service department. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully I didn't get too deep in that too fast. I hope some of it made sense. You might want to go back and listen to this video again in case you missed something. But this is part of scaling your business. It's going to be doing some new things that you're not used to doing. Some things that are going to spur some uncomfortable conversations with some of the people on your team. Maybe even yourself. You may have to have an uncomfortable conversation with yourself. Say, look, this isn't working. I've got to charge more. I've got to do better with my customers. I got to provide more value. It's not always about just charging more. You can also provide more value. There's numerous ways to do that. So anyhow, love you guys. Hope this was helpful. Go make money. Boom.